Hello. In this video, you're going to watch me draw something fairly complicated. This artichoke, this fake artichoke. You're going to see me work through it from just the basic axis line to thinking about the simple forms. And really importantly, after I get some of the basic proportions established, you'll see me think about this in terms of a grid. I'm nearing the end of my gesture drawing process, and at this point I really want to look at it. I want to look at my subject and try to see and imagine the detail as being related to each other. So I'm looking to try to find some kind of grid, some type of geometry that I can connect all details. What I end up going with is a series of slightly curved horizontal lines. I'm going to use this to gesture in the details. I was able to do this fairly easily without a lot of erasing. That is the placement of the individual petals. I was able to place them without a lot of erasing. But the benefit of doing a second layer of detail is that if you discover, I just drew in 5 leaves, but there's only supposed to be 4, you can quickly erase that layer of gesture drawing and try again. Keep in mind that you want it to look like things are getting smaller as they go back in space. So the petals that are towards the silhouette or edge are going to appear smaller because they're further away from us. And the petals that are more centralized, larger because they're closer to us, the viewer. Instead of using horizontal lines for my grid, I could have made a crisscross-like pattern, as you see in the top right-hand corner. I use this pattern a lot when I'm drawing things like pineapples and pine cone, where there's even more layers of detail than in the artichoke. The more detail you place in your drawing, the more forgiving the viewer will be. It's very easy to spot an issue with a drawing of, let's say, a plant that only has 3 leaves. But if the plant has 9 or 10 leaves, it may not be so easy for the viewer to detect that something is off or not quite right, as long as you get it to be fairly proportionate and also for it to follow the golden rule of perspective, that things tend to get smaller as they go back in space. The viewer is not going to notice if something is, let's say, 1/8 of an inch off here or a hair too short there. So more detail lends itself to the viewer being more forgiving of any possible mistakes on your part. I grab a sheet of paper to just protect my drawing from any possible smudges that my hand could make. More often than not, at this point, I have to remind my students to keep that pencil sharp. You see me occasionally grab my mechanical pencil. Mechanical pencils are all right. They're a little sterile when it comes to fluctuation in thick versus thin lines. So I do need a standard pencil, and I do need to keep that standard pencil quite sharp throughout the drawing process. Notice that when I create my finishing lines, I'm not merely just going over my gesture drawing. I'm always layer upon layer trying to add more detail, more information. I'm trying to see more. I like to tell my students that drawing is like stretching for your eyes. Like you think you see something, then look closer. Try to see more. Just like if you were in a stretch or yoga class, you would do one movement and you would be encouraged to see if you could do more. So really look at your subject matter. Try to see more than you initially do. And layer upon layer, try to add more to your drawing. Try to make it more informative, communicate more to the viewer.